So, you know how you said you just quit your job to start your own marketing agency? Is that right?
hmm
I've seen the amount of jobs you do and like the time frame. How do you do it? How do you organize all that?
Yeah, I guess it's like working a lot of like extra hours through the night. It's we just kind of we just launched about a month ago with my friend Courtney. We met at Indiana State and she's a designer, so she's more the creative director,
Yeah,
and then I'm more on the marketing side, on the marketing director, and we complement each other well. But we're just kind of ramping up, getting clients, trying to understand like our position and how we can help businesses.
sure.
We're definitely wanting to focus more on like the small and mid-sized businesses that don't have the marketing budget to hire these
Yeah,
big agencies. So we want to help give them like quality work, have be very personable,
yeah,
and to help them as they need, and just kind of be their go-to marketing people with whatever they need. And
gotcha.
if, for example, we aren't the best people for it, we'll find the best people
Yeah,
for it.
gotcha,
We're not to
gotcha.
make
Yeah,
ourselves look
how,
or be bigger than we can do.
gotcha. How, how do you just go and quit your full-time job and start a marketing company in the middle of COVID? Like I mean, starting a company takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of efforts to do that. And I just don't know, especially how you go about it during this time. Kind of what is, I guess, the roadmap going forward? Have you already started like working with companies, or how's that looking so far?
Yeah, I with with the kind of like the timing, it is different.
Yeah.
I really so I do love traveling, and for the first couple of years after getting a job, that was like my main focus was to travel. So I stayed at my dad's house, didn't have to pay rent, saved a bunch of money up,
Okay. Gotcha.
and then I guess like with the timing of this, it's just with work, with a full time job. It's just I'm kind of wanting to move into a different chapter. Things have changed a lot
Gotcha.
at my previous job, and I am ready to start this with Courtney. I guess it's like we also saw a gap in the market of like, wow, there are a
Gotcha.
lot of local businesses that, are fighting to stay alive. They are doing great things. They have great stories, and like we just want to share them and help businesses during this time. And we think that we know that we can like kind of fill that in between of not having to be a big company, but we're also like very niche and like wanting to
Yeah.
help small businesses.
That's
So I
awesome.
guess like wanting to, I guess also with COVID, like travel
Yeah.
is not a thing anymore. So it is fun to be able to focus my time on this.
Yeah, and one of the things that like travel is a part of my podcast. It's like travel technology and transportation, and I really like bringing guests on like you because I've just looked at your Instagram, your TikTok, and you're doing travel tips. You're posting like all these beautiful pictures. Like you just went to Michigan, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! And it's like you've been to like Shanghai. Like you're actually from China, right?
Yeah, I was adopted from China
Exactly.
when I was a baby, and then been living in Indiana ever since.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to be able to explore, and
Yeah.
very fortunate that I've been able to do that.
When were you adopted from China? Do you remember China as a kid or anything about it?
No, I was one when I came over here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool. So where there has to be like one favorite place on earth that you must love more than all others. For myself, like I'm a very Indiana guy. I love pretty much all things Indiana. So a couple of places that I really enjoy going is the Turkey Run Inn and Bridgeton. Those are like my like even though I've been to Australia, Iceland, Ireland, like I still find myself like those are like my favorite places. Are there any places I guess around Indiana or around the world that like just really stood out to you?
Yeah, I in probably in Indiana, I guess it's a pub. I love Sanka's. That's like my one of my
Okay.
favorite places in the world to
Really?
be. I just love
Zonka's out of
the
all places?
atmosphere. Huh?
Zonka's out of all places.
it's like one of my favorite like restaurants. Like I just feel so at
Gotcha.
home there.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, it's also just like the camaraderie. It's just a really chill place to be with friends, and it reminds me of just being able to relax on a patio with a
Gotcha.
drink. It's super fun.
Gotcha.
And I guess like worldwide, um, two places that stick out a lot to me were Athens, Greece, and then um, like Bangkok. And I guess it's more of like Chiang Mai versus Bangkok, but those were both solo trips, and
Gotcha.
I don't know, I just have the most fun time like solo traveling.
Really? I
It's definitely
so
my and I love all my people that I travel with. I don't want to like offend
yeah,
anyone,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it is
Sure.
definitely like if I could travel solo, I totally would all the time.
Really? So I've gone
Hmm.
to Alaska and Iceland by myself. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the experience, but for me, like I went to Australia and Ireland with my buddy Alex Curry and then Charles Calvert. He went to Australia with us. And my favorite trip of all time was probably my trip to Australia. We only spent a week there. We were in Sydney, and the moments
Hmm.
that we had there were incredible. So like, how how many solo trips have you taken like outside of the United States?
Um, well, I studied abroad in China, so that was kind of solo-ish. Like I went over
Yeah,
there by myself, and then I met up with the group. But then I like went to Japan by myself,
gotcha.
um, Greece, and then Thailand, and then I like Seattle, some domestic trips.
Yeah. How are you not afraid of like something happening to you? Because like, I mean, I may be a guy and everything, and I'm comfortable traveling by myself, but like you being a woman, I don't know if I'd be okay. Like if I had a daughter, I would let my own daughter do it herself.
Yeah, I love this question actually. I get this a lot, and I
You
really enjoy
have
it.
to.
Once once I realized that nobody cares about me, then that really opens up your mind about things. Like, yeah, there's movies like Taken, but and I'm like, if when you're walking down the street, I'm not if I see someone by themselves, I'm not like, oh, why are they here? Is it like I don't have any of those thoughts, and maybe I'm just naive, and I should probably have those. But for the
Sure.
most part, I'm like, nobody cares about me walking down the street, going in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
I don't have any enemies that are trying to come after me. I don't have like a CIA job.
Hey, you may have enemies that you don't even know. Like I
I
imagine it happens all
could,
the time where people just get taken.
I could, and it's like I am safe. Like I don't like when I do
Oh
travel,
my
it's like
goodness.
I'm not traveling late at night or I'm not like like I still take my precautions, but for the most part, internationally, I feel safer being in an international country than in a big city in the United States. So
Interesting.
it's like the only times that I'm really, I guess, solo is getting from like the airport to like my hostel or Airbnb. And then that's why I really like staying in hostels for international travel because like I meet people there. It's like I
Yeah.
travel there by myself and I do some things by myself, but I'm there to like meet people and then you kind of do your own together but separate things
Sure.
depending on if your schedules line up.
Gotcha. That's insane. So one of my biggest questions, like whenever I look at either it's Foodabo, Little Asian Big Travels, or just like your normal accounts, and you working at Indiana State or wherever you worked, how are you able to balance like time off and going on vacation? Because I never understood that. I was like, there's the math doesn't work for me.
Yeah, with like vacation, like working for a university that you just get a lot of days off in general,
Okay.
just because of government. Like, like between Christmas and New Year's, we have all that off. We get
Uh,
different holidays
that
like
makes sense.
MLK Day. We have the 4th of July. Like today, we're off.
So like, what
And
about like even like summer break and stuff like that? Would you'd get that off, correct?
no, so I'm staff. I was
Okay,
staffed. So we don't have the same schedule as like a professor, but
gotcha.
also I take unpaid time off. My bosses like that's like what I really appreciated about working there is like my bosses really are big travelers as well, and they
Oh,
totally
okay.
understand and we're accommodating. But like, okay, well, you don't have the vacation time, so just take unpaid leave for a few days, and then you can take if you have 3 vacation days, use that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, a blessing for sure. So, so say if a cure for COVID habit comes about or whatever else comes about and you're able to start traveling again, do you think you're going to travel as much as you were when you're working for like the university, but now that you're working on your own business? I imagine most people who are starting their own business, they have to invest so much more time, and it just that consumes a lot of what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. It's so my end goal, my like dream career is to be a digital nomad. And now I'm just taking all of my steps to become a digital nomad.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons I've, started this marketing agency with Courtney is so that I can work remote, work from wherever. Um,
It's funny that you say that. So
like
like
have,
I've never heard the term digital nomad, but I feel like I'm kind of like in the same boat as you because like I kind of want freedom of where I'm living, and that's kind of why I've started the podcast and different things like that, and that, that's how we're talking today. So
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's once I understood that and I'm like, that's my end goal. It's like, yes. And I guess like the original question was balancing starting a new business and
yeah,
if travel opens up. I think it's also like a really good timing of since, travel isn't allowed right now.
yeah.
We have a bunch of time to just really go in and focus all my time onto this. And then I can kind of pace it out, take it one day at a time as it as we go.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm gonna say like it sounds weird, but like I've been a fan of you, kind of just like from afar, and like man, I'm so like happy for her, kind of jealous at the same
Oh,
time. And then I was like, I gotta get her on the show because like I mean, just looking at your TikTok, for example, I was kind of scrolling through them the past couple of days and like this morning, and you're doing travel tips. Like, what are your best travel tips that you would have for like people watching this video, or some of the biggest things that you found?
yeah, my niche on travel is budget travel. I want to help inspire people to that they don't have to, spend thousands of dollars to go on a
Yeah.
trip to somewhere. Like even just small trips are great. And like I said, like utilizing vacation time or long weekends is really beneficial. Like saying like you have the time and you don't have to do it super expensively to go and explore a place. It's I guess like my best travel tips are finding how to reduce your costs as much for like those big items like flights and hotels. Like those are going to be your
Yeah.
biggest expenses. So like being able to find cheap flights
Yeah.
and if you're willing to stay in a cheaper lodging,
Like a hostel.
realizing. Yeah, hostels or even like Airbnb versus hotels. I mean, if you can find a group of friends to stay at an Airbnb, that'll cut your cost way cheaper. You can stay like $50 a night for per person versus like 150 or more in a hotel.
Gotcha.
Between like two people, it's just really monitoring, like understanding your expenses, like knowing how much money you have for a trip and making it work for you. It's like if I have 500 or $1,000, what can I do with that time? How can I use my money
Sure.
the most efficiently to be
Yeah.
able to still go on this trip?
Yeah. So, do you have any like specific tools that you use? Like, I always tell people when I'm looking for flights, I use Google Flights because they compare pretty much all the airlines. I think the only airline that I haven't seen that they compare with is Southwest Airlines for whatever reason. But like, I've found flights. Like, I went to Tampa, Florida, for like 5 days, and it was $60.
Right.
Like from nonstop from Indy to Tampa, or like I've seen constantly Indy to Orlando. It's anywhere like you can get flights. I think I recently saw one actually during COVID that was like $45, and
Hmm.
yeah. And then actually I went to Ireland, and my flight was 300 round trip, and I
That yeah, it's awesome. Is that
yeah,
from Chicago?
yep, that was from Chicago.
Mhm.
Yep. But it was on a now defunct airline called Wow Air. I don't know if you ever rode on Wow Air, but I rode on it.
I haven't heard of that.
You really so like if you look it up, it's like a big purple airplanes, like their purple paint scheme is like their thing.
Uh-huh.
It was based out of Iceland. So anytime you were going over to Europe or anything, you'd fly from Chicago, you'd stop in Reykjavik, Iceland, and then you'll go on to your next destination, whether that was like Germany, England, wherever. And instead of like flying into bigger airports like Heathrow, they'd fly into like Gatwick or like London Gatwick Airport or anything like that. But yeah, the I don't know how they're really surviving because $300 to get from Chicago to Ireland with an hour layover, that's like ridiculous.
Right.
And
I use,
I actually
there's like error fares.
come again.
There is a thing called like error fares. I don't know like
Oh
how the term is, but it is basically a glitch in the system.
yeah.
So there are sites that kind of that specifically look at error fares and find
Mm-hmm.
them, and then they'll send you email alerts.
Gotcha.
Um, I don't use any of those. I use Next Vacay, which I think is kind of like
Yeah.
perhaps an error fare, but they just send me emails to really ridiculously cheap flights. And that's another thing. It's like if you're open to traveling,
Sure.
then just go to wherever it's cheap.
I,
Wherever you can get a good flight deal,
yeah.
that's where I usually go.
Ri- okay. See, I for me, I have like a list of places like of priority. I'm like, okay, I'd rather go here and then go here, and like not necessarily. Oh well, let's go to like Lincoln, Nebraska. Let's say.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever watched the movie Yes Man? It's with Jim Carrey's in it, and he's like,
Yes, a long time ago.
love that movie. And what you were just talking about, it actually reminds me of Yes Man. He and his girlfriend in the movie, they go to the airport and like, all right, what's the first ticket out of here? And they end up going to Lincoln, Nebraska, and they go to like a Nebraska Cornhuskers game and everything, and then they fly back into LAX, and then he gets taken back by security, and he's like put on the no fly list because like they think he's a terrorist and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's interesting. So outside of Indiana, is there like a specific place that you would see yourself living, like a city, town, or country, whatever? Like, what is
Yeah,
your
I
like
really like
ideal place?
Texas. Well, it's really
Everyone,
common answer.
everyone loves Texas.
I love Austin, Texas. I would live in Austin
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
If Yep.
It's kind of funny that you say that. So like, I actually, I actually work and live in Texas, but uh, I've been back in Terre Haute since quarantine started because my job was like gracious enough to let me like come back and be here and be close to family and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but like I'm in the Dallas area.
Dallas. I like Dallas too. It's a cool spot.
Yeah, it's
It
a
depends on what I guess it's like the place I visited in Dallas. I don't remember what area
yeah.
it was, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm. It's so big because you got Dallas and Fort Worth, the whole metroplex and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have all the mid cities and then the cities above it. And I was looking at the population for it. There's like 6.5 million people, give or take, in just the Dallas Fort Worth area, and then all of Indiana, there's 6 million. So,
Right.
but I couldn't like. I mean, I've been to New York City as well, but there's like more people in a smaller area in New York City. But you think about like Dallas, you don't really think about it being that big. So
Yeah. It's like is it more spread out kind of?
yeah, to get from so like if you're in Arlington, it takes probably 30 minutes to get to Fort Worth, 30 minutes to get to Dallas, and they're probably about an hour between each other. That's assuming if you don't have any traffic.
Gotcha.
Do you remember a guy by the name of Jean Nation?
Mm,
He's a big, tall, lengthy dude, kind of goofy looking. Has a pretty good beard. Has glasses. He went
maybe
to
my own face. I'm better
if
at
you
faces.
yeah
Than,
yeah, but he went to school with us at North, and he ended up going to ISU as well. He was in my grade, and
Okay.
he's going to medical school down there. So
Oh, sweet. In Dallas?
yeah, in Dallas, and then he had family that was down in Houston area, I think, but then they ended up moving to like South Carolina. So that
Oh,
they like he went and is like doing his residency down there in Texas so he could be closer to them, but then they end up moving, and I was like, great, that's so funny, awesome. So how have you been trying to navigate through traveling like in the middle of COVID? Because like I mean I've gone and done some things like I've gone to Bloomington a couple times. I went up to Indiana Beach, went on a boat and all that good stuff. But outside of like a 150-mile range, I haven't really gone anywhere.
yeah. My only travel trip that I did during COVID was Michigan. So a couple weeks ago, girlfriend and I, we
Yeah.
did a road trip from Indianapolis up to Mackinac Island.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just us, and our whole goal was to do a bunch of nature stuff. So it was just like instead of doing city things, we were doing nature things like hiking,
Yeah.
uh, just doing like going to the pool. We actually didn't go to any pools, but
Yeah.
just keeping our precautions with face masks, being really respectful of that,
Yeah.
and social distancing. And
Yeah.
honestly, like I was really impressed with Michigan's, I guess, like protocols.
Yeah.
Have a mask to go into even restaurants, and then if you're sitting at your table, then that's fine, you can take it off. But even go to in the bathroom, I was just really impressed because with Indiana, nobody was like required to wear a mask or anything.
Yeah. Well, now you're required to wear one if you're in Indianapolis.
Right? Yep.
So
Marion County.
that island that you're on, you said it was what Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island.
So I think I saw one of your posts. Are you not allowed to have vehicles on that island?
Yeah, you can't. There are no vehicles are allowed. You can't even get there. You had to get it on a ferry.
Really? How long does the ferry take to get there?
It's about 20 minutes.
That's not
hmm
bad. And where does the ferry leave from?
One of there's different ports, but on off of Michigan's
Yeah.
off the coast,
Is
and
that
then
is
yeah, 20
that
minutes there, and it's precious island. It has like a main strip of like shops, and then the rest is nature park things.
is that in the Upper Peninsula or lower? It's in the
Yeah,
Upper
Upper
Peninsula?
Peninsula.
Oh my gosh. I've heard so many good things about the Upper Peninsula. Like there's not really much there, but from what is there is like very beautiful. But like I heard the winters up there are horrible.
Yeah, I could not imagine. Like we were there and we packed summer things. I'm an idiot. I always check the weather and I just didn't.
Yeah.
So we were in like shorts and a t-shirt and just freezing
Really? How
because it was at nighttime. It would get to 40 degrees and we're like
uh
walking, and then it just gets really cold when the sun goes down.
40 degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean
but
it
that's the time of year.
I mean the temperature swings in Indiana at least like in Terre Haute. Like I think today's high is 91 and the low is like 75.
hmm
So it's not super drastic. I imagine the lake effect is very real up there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
In the morning when we left,
Gotcha.
it was really cold, but we were too cheap to buy a sweatshirt, so we just suffered through. Well, like it'll warm up in a couple hours. We'll
All right.
just stand.
All right. I need your take on this. What is your take on like you ever see those like Panama City Beach sweatshirts and t-shirts and all that stuff? Like what is your take on those? I'll tell you
Oh,
what
I
I
hate
think.
them.
Oh my god. My, Ronnie's mom loves them so much.
No!
She's one of
I
those
think it's
people.
such a waste of money.
I know. She's one of those people that like because here's my thing. I feel like they're cool if you wear them there, but once you leave that place, I don't think they're really cool anymore.
I don't think they're cool wearing them there either, because then you look like a tourist. And that's my big thing is
Yeah.
like that's how I don't get kidnapped is because I don't look like a tourist.
No, it's funny that you say that. When I traveled to Australia and Ireland, for
Mhm.
whatever reason, people came up to me in both countries and they're like, "Hey, do you know how to get over here to this place or that?" And the other, I'm like, "I, no, nope, not from here. Sorry." I'm And then they're like, oh yeah, well, yeah. Like,
Never
yeah, we had a drunk couple come up to us in Ireland, and they were kind of like circling around the street, and they like came. I think they were British, and came over to us, and we were just kind of chilling. It was at night. And they're like, you know where this is, and like we were like, yeah, kind of. We can kind of direct you because like, well, I think they were going somewhere where we had just been or something like that, or somewhere close to it. And my buddy Alex was like, yeah, go here, there, blah blah, and then I don't know if they were coherent enough to
knew.
actually like follow our instructions, but they were kind of just doing whatever. It was a fun time. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So I think we actually have kind of a well. I've never met her. I just follow her on Instagram. Her name is Brittany Danko. I don't know.
Brittany Danko, yes. I
Okay.
love her.
So I'm like, I've never talked to her. I've never met her. Followed her on Instagram because like I thought her profile was interesting, and she's a pilot, isn't she?
She is. So she's a really good friend of mine. Yeah, she's freaking badass. Like
I love it.
pilot. Yeah, she's pilot for Republic Airlines. You should have her on the show.
Yep,
She's
yep.
a great personality, super spunky. We She actually just added me to her pilot benefits for this year. So I got to utilize them for a solid 2 months before um, COVID hit. So
So what does that
hopefully they'll
what does
let
that
me
really mean,
stay
and what does that
with.
include?
Yeah, I'm on standby. So for her specific scenario,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to like fly on United on standby. So
Oh, okay.
it's honestly really stressful. Um, because you never know if you're gonna make a flight, you don't know if you're gonna get home, if there's gonna be seats available. And it's so awesome to be able to fly super cheap, but it is really stressful to not know or have to just plan sleep over in an airport. Done that before. Um, yeah.
Now, I had an experience when I was going to Alaska. It was horrible. So I was going to Alaska, flew out of Chicago, and it snowed the night before slash during the day. Flights got delayed. Finally boarded the plane. Was on the plane. We sat on the run or not on the runway. Sat at the gate on the plane for 2 hours or something like that, and we were waiting for like, excuse me, a crew to de-ice the plane and all that good stuff. Excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
and then we got in, or no, it was probably like 4 hours we sat on the plane. And then we got on the runway. I'm not even joking. Got on the runway. Before we took off or whatever, they came over the intercom and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna take a pit stop in Minnesota." And we were supposed to go from Chicago, Salt Lake City, Seattle, Anchorage,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to do a pit stop in Minneapolis because the pilots had been like in the air too long or on the job too long. And so we had to stop in Minnesota, wait for new pilots to come, and
Mm-hmm.
wait for the plane to be de iced again. And this was all the same crowd of people. And we sat on the plane for probably another 2 hours. And then we flew to Salt Lake City. That took like 3 hours. And then by the time we got there, it was midnight, and they were giving everyone like vouchers for food, like a meal voucher and a hotel voucher. And
Mm-hmm.
people were going up. Everyone was like, "Oh, complaining, yelling, all that good stuff." And I just came up, "Hey, I just need a meal voucher and a hotel voucher." And like, because I was so kind to them, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, like, thank you for being so nice." I was like, "Yeah, for sure. Like, I understand. Like, everything got delayed. This is just like a pleasure trip for me. It's not like I need to be anywhere right now." So I was just kind of being patient. They gave me this stuff, and the people in front of me did not accept their housing voucher or their hotel voucher, and they just
Mm-hmm.
like crossed their name out and wrote my name on it. Like, okay, this is my first time flying commercially, or
Mm-hmm.
really at all, and So I hop on the bus, I go to the hotel, I try to give my thing. The lady at the counter would not accept the hotel voucher at all
What?
because my name was not printed on the ticket. Yeah,
Oh.
so I had to hop back on the bus, go back to the airport, track someone down when the airport is like literally closed. Went to the little Delta thing. The lady in there dealt me up. She got me a new hotel voucher, got me a like another meal voucher. They gave me like it was like two $20 meal vouchers they ended up giving me.
That's legit.
Yeah, hopped back on the bus, went back to the hotel, dealt with the horrible manager that I had to deal with, slapped it on the table, give me a room. I went up to my room, got back up at like 6 in the morning, got back to the airport, hopped on the flight, went to Seattle. That was like another 2 or 3 hours. And then hopped on the flight from Seattle to Anchorage, which was like another 3 or 4 hours. So
Wow.
I should have been in Alaska the day before, but I got so delayed that it was ridiculous. So like I couldn't imagine sleeping in the airport like you did. Like I was supposed to actually like I had a 24-hour layover whenever I was going to Iceland and or no, when I was coming back from Iceland. And I was like this is not worth my time. So I ended up buying a ticket directly back from Iceland to Chicago. And I was like, I'm not staying the 24 hours. It's a waste of my time. So I spent like
Right.
$200 or $250 to get back. It's ridiculous. So, yeah. But yeah, I brought Brittany up because she's like one of your travel buddies, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah, we travel a lot. It was one of the reasons she added me to her benefits because she knows
Gotcha.
I love to travel and I have a really flexible schedule too.
Yeah.
So we went to we've been to Los Angeles. We
Jamaica?
went to cruise.
You go to
Huh?
Jamaica? I feel like you went to Jamaica together.
No, I went to Jamaica with my friend Jace. Brittany and I went to Colorado,
Yeah.
and that was super random. It was like we were there for 24 hours. So like whenever she flies, and she has like a really good overnight, so if she's staying in a certain location for like 24 hours or something, she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be here. Do you want to fly out and meet me?" Because like the airlines pay for like her hotel and
Oh, okay.
things. So it's like, yeah, I'll pay $36 and fly out and meet you, and we can go hang out in Colorado and go skiing. So
That's
it's
amazing.
like just having those spontaneous trips together, and I miss them, but
Yeah,
I
because I
understand.
imagine you're having them all the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I tried to travel at least once a month, but usually it ended up being like two weekends at least, like 2 or 3 weekends
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah, I feel like what you're doing right now, like with your travel accounts, like I feel like it's so valuable, and not so many people know like how to do it or like to get into it. Like, yes, I found like my cheap flights and different things like that, but I don't know if I think it comes down to a willing thing. What are you willing to do? Like, you're willing to be on standby. You're ready to be at the drop of a hat and go do that. And it's like I feel like a lot of people don't have that freedom or that flexibility that's given to you, and it's like
Mhm.
that can be such a powerful tool. Yeah, I just
Mhm.
that's crazy. Like I like for my job right now, I don't think I'd be able to like at the drop of a hat and go and do that. Like I don't necessarily have that freedom. And so, yeah, that's incredible. I love that. I literally love that. That's so good.
Oh, thanks. And I, like I said, I'm really fortunate, and I know it is very rare to have, bosses that understand and are just as travel obsessed as you are. So it was very rare, and I'm really lucky to have them to
Yeah.
say like, "Hey, next week, can I take a Friday off and go somewhere?"
I'm surprised you're
I
not
know a lot of
vlogging.
places can do that.
Surprised you're not vlogging these things and trying to put them up on YouTube or anything. Like I know you have like your Instagram, which is great for it. But I'm surprised you're not like even if you did like a few minute video of just like little highlights. I'm surprised you're not doing that.
Ah, it honestly is like the time aspect.
Yeah,
I have a bunch of videos
really.
on my phone that I've taken. I've just never I've never just edited them and like thrown them up
I
on
wonder,
YouTube.
you could get, so like my cousin Ronnie, he was looking at getting an editor for his gaming stuff and things like that. Because don't get me wrong, the editing aspect of all this, I completely understand. Even to do the small edits that I have to do for this podcast, for the video version of the podcast, it is horrendous. Like it can take quite a bit of time. Like my last podcast, the reason why I filmed it a couple days after the previous podcast I just had, but like
Mhm.
because of the video format that my software saved it in, it was not being compatible. So I had to like convert the file in another program. It still wasn't working, and I just gave up on it. I was like, I think I'm just gonna put the audio only up, and then
Mhm.
I got back to it probably like a week ago, and for whatever reason and whatever I did, whatever magic that I made, uh, I put the video into the editing software, and the editing software would actually take it, and
Hmm.
it's it just takes so much time. Like when I was just doing the audio only, it was so much easier. Like because some of the podcasts I've done like a 2 hour podcast to like put that in the editor and to like it saves a file to my desktop, and then it saves or then it like publishes it to YouTube, and then YouTube has to process it. Like the 2 hour video, it probably took 8 hours of processing of like saving to my
Wow.
laptop and finally uploading to YouTube. Because a lot of people don't realize like with the different resolutions that you have like 144p, 280, 480p, you have 1080p, 720p, and it has to upload that video that many times to get those different resolutions.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
So,
with this software that I'm using now, I figured out
mhm.
like different shortcuts so like I won't have to put it in the editor, so I can just like upload and go.
Oh, well, that's good.
So
I mean,
like
that's kind of like I really like TikTok, and I'm glad TikTok's a thing. It's
yeah.
also I'm able to make my videos in TikTok and then cross them over onto Instagram.
Yeah,
That's a little bit with the videos.
gotcha. I think what would be really cool is for you to like even if you just did an audio only podcast, I think it would be very fascinating to hear like, okay, we just had this whole day in Denver or a couple days in Denver, and like before like you and say Brittany go separate ways, you just kind of talk about it and like because doing audio only that's very simple, it's very easy, very fast, can be very cheap, and just kind of talking about it and then upload it, and it'd be interesting to hear what has happened after that. So like I did a podcast with Alex about our trip to Ireland, and it
Mhm.
was very good, but at the same time waiting after a year after it happened or a couple of years after it happened, you're not going to have what happened in your mind as fresh. And so like if you do it
Right.
very soon after, you're going to get like all the good details in it. You're not going to leave anything out. You won't really forget anything. And then like kind of going back and looking at that, it like, oh yeah, I do remember that. It's like some very little things. It's like because what you remember is not going to necessarily be what Brittany remembers. And so having
Right.
that is like so powerful. That is so cool.
I like that idea. Like I have like a debrief
Yeah,
after
because like
talk about it.
because if you're debriefing anyway, and if you're trying to be like your digital nomad, it
Mhm.
like to set up like you can get like a little recorder, plug in some microphone, like and then just kind of have at it, like because
Mhm.
I've kind of looked at the digital nomad thing. I love that term. I'm gonna keep using that. Thank you for
Yeah,
telling me that.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, my friend Michelle like sent me a TikTok video of this girl who is a digital nomad, and I've just been hooked on that ever since. I'm like, I finally have a concept to what I've been trying to do. Like I had all these like
Ideas.
ideas in my mind, but I had no like concrete thing until I heard that. So
Yeah, it's just it's
I can share it with you now.
yeah, it's just because there's so many different ways to make money today,
Mhm.
and like I've stumbled upon this guy who he plays NCAA football 14. They don't make the game anymore, but what he'll do is like you have like 22 players, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, And what he'll do is like he has like a Patreon, and if someone pays like $5, they can get their name like on one of the players, and he uses those players in the game. So he's like selling the names to the players and everything, as well
Mhm.
as uploading to YouTube. So he's getting money from like the monetization on YouTube, and maybe if he's running ads on that as well and sponsored posts. It's just like I was like,
Mhm.
these are things I didn't even think about doing. I didn't even know you could do. I was like, okay.
Right.
All right, Full Chat podcast listeners. I want to apologize because my setup kind of stopped in the middle of the recording, but Bo and I had a great conversation. We were wrapping it up anyway. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, do all the things that you want to do, and thanks for listening.